In regards to white supremacy, the reason primarily why white people are white is because we don't see as much sun as black people. And
That's not
yeah,
true.
because we have a lot of winters in white people land, typically. Our skin allows us to
Okay,
absorb this.
I don't want to change our conversation regarding biology. I think we're going to want to be talking more
I
politics. Okay.
typically, white country is east west, where black country is north south.
Okay, but that's only true if you're thinking long term, like it's in our DNA. Like it's not like white people are going to turn black if they go to somewhere with sun. Like it's in our DNA
Yeah, but
because they're in dark. Yeah. So, but I
typically,
don't want to have. I don't want to have that discussion. Let's not have that discussion. Let's go back to politics. Okay, so Bucks, it's your turn.
if you don't work together in winter, you die.
Okay, this is not that. This is not our. This is not the topic. Like this, we're discussing politics. We're not discussing the biology behind why some people have more melanin than others. Right?
Iran is
All right,
very desirable land. I'm gonna mute.
please do. So Bucks.
Well, shit, that was interesting. Okay. Anyway, a few moments ago, you were talking about, like kind of a difference in like your desire to like, meet with practical moments on the ground and all these concrete things, right? That are extremely important. And then you referenced a little bit about philosophy, but I just want to put my 2 cents in and kind of reform that position of yours to re-emphasize that philosophy must rational philosophy, not any Marxist philosophy or whatever, but sensible philosophy, rational philosophy must be at the root of whatever you guys are going to remake inside of this country once you win, because it's
Yeah,
you're gonna
but so Bucks, I agree, but there's a time for things, right? Right now, we're in the middle of a
right.
war, right? And we do doing philosophy is for a time of peace. We need to be fighting for a country that we have the luxury of doing philosophy. When people are being shot at, that's not the time of doing moral philosophy and other stuff like that. That's the time for crushing your enemy
I
and
understand
pissing
this.
over their corpses. Yeah.
I Armin, I understand this, but on the other hand, I just want it to be in perspective that that at some point a person could argue now is when we need philosophy the most. And I understand when bullets are
I don't. Yeah,
flying.
but here's the thing.
I Armin,
That's not going to be
let
received very well. So you have to also like Iranians are like if given that Iranians are now being killed in the thousands, right? If you
me
go and say like, "Hey guys, let's do philosophy," I don't think that's going to be received very well.
I understand this. I understand this. And all of this reconstruction after you win is going to be important. I understand it's not important now because right now you're in the pass me a rifle and give me
Yeah,
all the
so
ammunition.
much. I have an entire channel dedicated to doing philosophy with Iranians on my Persian channel on YouTube, and we have stopped that for a while, and we're going to go back to that after the revolution. We're successful at the
Okay,
revolution, right? So, like, we don't like Iranians. Don't trust me. Iranians online, they're obsessed with philosophy. Okay, so they don't need to be told like, "Oh, are you sure you have a proper philosophical mindset for what you're doing?" Like, too much, actually, too much. We actually spend too much time thinking about philosophy. So don't worry, we're not lacking in that department.
let me rebut just for a moment to a lot of people's heads globally, not just Iran, Americans, anywhere, Europe, anywhere. To them, philosophy means like perpetual doubt and skepticism, right? And
No.
that's not the case. It properly applied philosophy means now it's time to get your rifle, get your friends, go to the street if you are able, and do your duty, right? You've got to do your duty and then fight for your freedom. I'm not over there. It's not my country. I support you
Yeah.
100% all the time.
All
But,
right.
but, you know,
Yep.
I don't want philosophy to be chucked into the gutter, and then everyone
Okay.
wakes up
Don't worry,
after a revolution.
but
Now,
yeah,
now what do we do?
I trust the Iranian people. I know that they are right now. They're thinking strategy in the streets, and I trust them. They know what they're doing, and they also have a good leader who he knows what he's doing. So we have great data, and they're wise people, and they're making great decisions based on what's happening on the ground, and they also have great guidance. So don't worry about that. Okay, we're good.
I fully agree. I just hope that I can contribute something and keep everything
Can
grounded for what happens next.
right?
Because
We don't need advice. The best help that people could do is to be our voice and amplify our voice. That's what we need. We don't need lecturing. We don't need anybody to tell us what to do.
oh,
We
come
need
on, man.
people.
I am not the lecturing type. I'm not saying
I know,
that. I'm trying to help.
I know.
I'm just
I'm saying that
intellectual and
instead,
thinking.
we need more listening. We need people to listen to Iranian people and say what you need me to do, rather than
I
telling Iranian
agree.
people what to do. That's what we need.
I pay attention to world events
So,
and so forth. That's why I'm here.
so
I'm not here to
let me tell
lecture
you
you.
something.
I don't have a right to
Let me
tell
tell
you
you.
what to do.
I know. Let me tell you just something, because you talk about philosophy. Let me also
Right.
tell you something about marketing. Whatever you're trying to say, the word philosophy, you have to use a different word right now. That's not going to. People are going to not appreciate that your word right now being used in this time. Whatever you're trying to say, that's not the right word, and it's not going to be received very well. So you also need to know, if you want to do philosophy, part of philosophy is to know what words to use at what time. So you're not really delivering your message very well, because that seems like that word seems out of place right now. So you have to
Well,
find a
I'm
different.
using these terminologies here with
All right,
you in a small group of
all right,
voice.
all right.
Think
Hold
we
on,
post
please. I
in
don't
the
want to have
school
to mute anybody, but hold on,
chat.
please. Ahmad is speaking. Stop. The timer is well over, and we want to make sure that Armin has enough time to eat today. Let's please just save this for a little bit later and move on to Dingleberry. Dingleberry, Armin's time is very precious. He has to eat and drink and get some rest, and he's going above and beyond to sit and speak with us. So let's stay on Iran topic specifically. And we have a 3-minute timer, which moving forward, I will absolutely cut people off after 30 seconds, but I will warn you if you go above your 3 minute. Okay, love you guys. Bye.
Yeah. Also, by the way, Soapbox, I appreciate you paying attention to your run. So I hope nothing I said came off as insulting. Okay. All right. So who's next? Dingleberry. Dingleberry 1, Dingleberry 2, Dingleberry 3. Who's next?
Daniel Dome?
Daniel.
I like it's connected to what is going on in Iran, but the guys who live in Europe, like, do people start to make more voice about the revolution that the Iranians try to do? Do people go and protest next to the embassies of the Islamic Republic? Yeah, and like,
In
I just want to overall, if someone can
so
say something.
so your question is, are people going and protesting against the regimes?
And also a suggestion. Yeah,
No, they are. We have been showing them in our shows. They're going in large numbers. Iranians or non-Iranians?
about everyone.
Let me use this as a way to address this. Iranians have done a really good job in showing up in mass numbers to protest in countries outside of Iran, in front of the Islamic Republic embassy, but also in front of the US embassy and in front of the White House. We, if you look at the numbers, it's been more than the amount of unity and solidarity to send their message to the leaders of these countries regarding and trying to keep the news on the slaughter that is happening in Iran. And it has been very impressive how many Iranians actually have come out to and continue to come out to try to keep the attentions on Iran, right? One thing that they could do better is that I see a lot of these posters and a lot of these signs were targeted mostly to Iranians. Some of them were only in Persian. And I think that it's a missed opportunity. I think that what they should be doing is to make it more clear that non-Iranians could participate in these protests and everybody could be involved in this revolution, and to show appreciation for people who show up. I saw both Neil Bunny and Susanna mention that when they went to the protests, the Iranians were very, very welcoming to them, and they were very encouraged that they arrived and showed them a lot of love. I just think that that should be highlighted more, so that more non-Iranians get encouraged to join these demonstrations, because they could easily double the size of these protests if non-Iranians realize that they're actually welcome here, right? And I think more non-Iranians need to realize that this, how historic of an event this is. I think a lot of people don't know what we're right now in the middle of. Like, this is like the fall of the Berlin Wall. Like, this is one of those events. This is like, and I think it's just passing people by without noticing what a turning point this is in world history. So I think if this was communicated to more people, I think more people would want to participate in these protests.
Yeah, sorry, my internet. Yeah, my internet is just going on off. I believe it has to do with the attack that might take place.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So
All right,
let's move to
next,
the next.
Dahlia.
Guys hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Perfect. Well, thank you. First off, thank you so much for allowing me to join this conversation and have a voice. I very much appreciate that. Not a lot of people in my circle are talking about it. I'm here in America and there's a lot of other stuff going on. So again, I really appreciate having these conversations and dialogues. But I did want to get your take because I haven't heard a lot of specific regarding this topic. What kind of strategy was it that the Islamic regime had shutting down all the electricity and internet? I get that it was to cripple, they crippled themselves doing that, because when you cut out all the distractions, like people can't go out and buy anything, there's shops are closed, there's no normalcy, there's no stability. You did nothing but inflate the protesting. So, I mean, it boggles my mind that you're not allowing that kind of distraction to keep taking place, because then you wouldn't have such high numbers, if that makes sense.
You're saying that the regime, by killing so many Iranians, it backfired, and
Not,
they,
no, it's more of the fact that they're shutting down all of the different distractions that other people could be doing, because by doing that, you're enabling people to go out because they have nothing else to do, right? So you're just
well,
inflating the amount of people that are going out in the streets.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, because I think that if it was, I mean, I think the Islamic Republic accurately calculated that what they were about to do was so outrageous that if all of that information was available to Iranians and the outside world, that would be the end of them, right? I mean, it's already the end of them because everybody has seen what has happened. But I think they were trying to avoid that from happening, because I don't think that just because people have access to Instagram or their gaming, if the Islamic Republic came out and killed, like, I don't know, 50,000 Iranians, people were like, well, I'll still have my Instagram, so I'll keep doom scrolling. I think killing 50,000 Iranians and other Iranians knowing that this has happened would be the end of them. So they're trying to desperately to act like not much has happened. They're still, by the way, trying to do that, to act like the numbers that they're coming up with is like something around 3,000, and mostly they're like good people that weren't part of the revolution. That's what they're acting like. That, oh, the terrorists and the rioters came out and just killed innocent people. That's what they're trying to make it seem like happened. And they're desperately trying to sell that narrative, and they're also right now trying to sell the narrative that things are now back to normal, because they know Iranian people will not tolerate that just because they have internet. And they also know that the world seeing what they were, because their plan was to kill this many people, right? So you have to understand that we haven't seen anything like that in the history of the Islamic Republic. I know the Islamic Republic has been brutal, but nothing like this. This is on a different level. And because they understood that this is such a high level of killing, that if the world sees it, that would mean complete, like, isolation, and which would make them go bankrupt, which would make them not be able to sell, to be able to hire that level of killing actually causes a lot of infighting, and it's going to cut a lot of their funding from, their ability to raise money, and them not being able to afford paying their forces. That would also be the end of them. So from their perspective, this makes sense. From their perspective, does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I would in turn argue like the things are going to leak. Even if everything quelled and everything was fine, things would still leak after the fact. So then the world would still have that information after the fact. You can't control 90 million Iranians.
Yeah, but you
That's a
can
lot.
try
That's a
because
high volume.
yeah. Well, 2 points, right? Think about it. Like they have no other option from their perspective, because if they didn't do this, then they would have to just accept that they're going to fall, right? So from their perspective, it's worth a try, right? Also, from their perspective, there are three audiences here, right? The Iranian people, foreigners, but the most important audience is their supporters, their 1%, right? That continue to back them. So even if information gets leaked, because here's the thing, their supporters, some of them would not tolerate, some of them are delusional. Some of them think like, no, the Islamic Republic is just so kind and so nice and they would never do such a thing. So you don't want to lose them. I know there's like some of them that would support the Islamic Republic actually doing mass slaughter on people, but there's also some of them who think that, well, this Islamic Republic will obviously not ever do something like this. So as long as you hide the information to some extent, they could continue living in their own parallel universe, denying reality. So for them, you need to just hide the information just a little bit. You don't need to be very good. Like these are people who still believe that in the 12-day war, the Islamic Republic shut down multiple F-35s, right? These are the people who still to this day believe that the Islamic Republic managed to capture at least 2 pilots in the 12-day war, and that the Islamic Republic won the 12-day war, and they managed to actually turn Tel Aviv is like Gaza right now, right? And that Israel achieved none of their objectives in Iran. That's what they still to this day believe. So for those people, as long as you manage to keep the information hidden to some extent, you will still be okay. And if you lose them, then it's game over. Does
I'm
that make
sorry.
sense?
It does make
Wait,
sense.
hold on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Did revolution began actually when the currency went 1 to 1,000,000, or they were like simultaneously?
Okay, so after this, we're gonna have to go back to the order because we want to make sure BT is keeping the order of
Yeah, sure.
who's speaking. Okay. So, guys, what started the revolution is not why the people do the revolution. Okay, so this is something everybody needs to understand, that like during the Mahsa revolution, people were not doing the revolution for the sake of hijab. All right, so during the Mahsa revolution, a lot of people think that the revolution was about hijab, and it wasn't. And during this revolution, people think that the revolution is about economics, and it's not. So yeah, it's true that what they did to Mahsa Amini was the spark of the revolution, but it's also true that that was just an excuse. This is why during the Mahsa revolution, people were saying hijab faqat bahune ast, asl nizam nishun ast, which meant that the hijab is an excuse. Our target is the entire regime. So when you saw the drop in currency prices and also the increase in fuel prices, that was a spark for people to come out. But as soon as they come out, they're not chanting about the economy. They're chanting about the destruction of the Islamic Republic and the return of Pahlavi. Does
Yeah,
that make
thank you.
sense?
Thank you. I just popped out. Apologies. Just the question about what people can do to.
But before you say that Nicholas guy, I banned him from the group. Was that a good decision or not? Because he seemed like a troll. You guys agree with
Yes,
that?
yeah, it was a
Thank
draw.
you. Yep.
Okay.
Just on the question of what we can all do to help, it seems obvious that the most important thing is that the US actually does something. I know it looks like it, they will, but I'm not confident that's 100%. I mean, they only really came on board regime change this year after Bibi visited. They were dead against any regime change last year. They wouldn't allow Israel to do anything to facilitate regime change. And there's a lot of forces in the US which don't want regime change. So I think, I mean, if we obviously going and supporting the protests around the world, encouraging governments to support the US intervening, but also looking at, I mean, it might be worthwhile looking at why the US doesn't want regime change in Iran. I mean, you've got, I mean, a lot of things depend on big business. Obviously, I don't know if anything can be done about that, but people are making a lot of money about Iran being big and bad and evil and threatening Arab countries. There's huge Islamic Republic. There's huge arm deals going on with the Arab countries that would probably go down a lot. So a lot of American companies will make a lot less money. America was using the Iranian regime as its proxy to fight the extremist Sunni radicals around the world. You've got the MAGA's been infiltrated by people who support the Iranian regime. A lot of the people in the establishment have the idea that they need to empower the Iranian regime to be their proxy and to diminish Israel. And also, I think the CIA isn't that friendly to the Shah. From what I understand, a lot of the think tanks in the US don't really recognize that the Shah is supported by a large amount of people in Iran. I don't think they want to be associated with the Shah. So I don't know if any of those points are relevant or can be anything can be done to minimize them to increase the likelihood that the USA will actually intervene now.
So, I mean, the science show that the US is about to intervene. That's what the science show right now, right? And when we're talking about the US, we have to talk about, we can't speak as if the United States has one position. The United States is filled with so many different interest groups, so many different lobbies, so many different agendas, so many different people with different opinions. So talking about it as if it has one single view regarding regime change in Iran is simplistic because, for example, there are some very powerful people in the United States that would love a regime change, right? So Lindsey Graham, he like would love a regime change. Ted Cruz would love a regime change, right? Marco Rubio would love a regime change, and these are not small people. Okay, these are big. These are each one of these are represents an entire group of people with their own followers and with their own fans. But these are powerful forces within U.S. politics, right? So first thing that, and also when it comes to Trump being the president, Trump has been proven to be more flexible regarding his positions. So today he might be against regime change. Tomorrow he might want it more than anyone else, right? So saying United, given who the president is, I think that we cannot say that United States is against you regime change because Trump was against starting wars and now he's bombing and attacking multiple places. So right, that's another thing. And when it comes to think tanks, you're right about that. There are a lot of American think tanks that are influenced by the NIAC if they're on the left, or by the MEK if they're on the right. Both of these organizations have a lot of money. NIAC is basically the reformist arm of the Islamic Republic, and they have invested decades on trying to and successfully managing to be very influential and connected and expanding their networks in US media, lobby groups, and US politicians among the Democrats. Reports that look very authoritative, look very credible, academic, that a lot of people cite as sources. And a lot of people even don't know that Nayak is actually part of the Islamic Republic. On the right, we have MEK, which is a terrorist group that actually was removed from a terrorist group because they were, according to Jeffrey, at least here, it was that they were supporting the Clintons. So that's how they managed to get removed by Americans to be removed from a terrorist group. But they did many terrorist activities. So they are a terrorist group, even if they were removed from the list. And the MEK has been very successful in having a lot of connections to some Republicans. And for example, Mike Pompeo, Rudy Giuliani, Mike Pence, and Bolton. And they also have a lot of influence. They have also managed to grow their tentacles and have a lot of influence in a lot of different American, Western media outlets. Very, very successful in doing that, right? So that's why you can see so many things. I doubt that the American intelligence doesn't know how big of a support Pahlavi has. But even if they didn't know, I think that all of this misinformation and all of this investment to deny the support Pahlavi has in Iran has all been wasted. I think we managed to destroy that in the past 2 weeks. I think decades worth of investment in trying to make people not recognize how big of a deal Pahlavi is in Iran. All of it is now, you know, defeated by the Iranian people fighting, giving up their lives to shout the name Pahlavi, right? And I think that the millions and the millions and millions of dollars that the MEK and Nayak have invested in trying to deny this reality has been defeated by Iranians in the streets. The Iranian people have the blood of the Iranian people in the streets of Iran has managed to defeat the millions of dollars of these people investing their money to try to deny this reality. I mean, if you don't mind, I just want to show this picture again because I showed it on the show. I want to show it one more time, and I will keep showing this forever. Anytime somebody wants to deny the reality on the ground in Iran, Iranian people are literally writing with after they're getting shot and bleeding in the streets of Iran, they're using their own blood to write Javid Shah. And I don't know if the person who did this is still alive, but you could see that the regime that tried to kill them, but maybe as a final act, they wrote Javid Shah with their own blood and Marg Bar Khamenei, which means death to Khamenei. So I think they managed to make it undeniable that Iran wants Pahlavi. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Who's next? BT? Is BT here? BT?
She wrote Dajjal on the list.
Yeah, Dajjal next.
Dajjal, go ahead.
Yeah, she said she can't open her mic.
I'm sorry about your friend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It sucks, man. Stays wrong. I was going to ask you, actually. You were talking about your position versus the Iranian position, how you talk about what most Iranians think and most of them want a monarchy. Didn't you say that you're a Republican person? Didn't you say that you would actually vote for a constitutional monarchy?
I would. Yeah, I would vote for a constitutional monarchy, not because I am a constitutional monarchist, but I'm being a pragmatist, right? So even though I'm a Republican, the unfortunate situation for us Republicans are that most other Republicans in Iran are retarded, right? So there's the sane Republicans are a minority among Republicans, right? So the Republican brand in Iran is basically the brand of the communists, the MEK, and the reformists, right? There's a small minority of us Republicans who believe in classical liberal values, and we support Pahlavi. So the problem is that if Iran becomes like a republic rather than a constitutional monarchy, the door becomes open to all of these insane people, right? And I think the safest way to keep all of these people out is to become a constitutional monarchy.
I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You're just being pragmatic. That's the only way to keep these fuckers away from power is to go for king. That makes sense. That's they're all like crazy.
And also the Republicans don't have anything to show for when it comes to organization, when it comes to having like a framework. Like, who's their leader? Like, do we have they don't have anything after 47 years, they don't have anything to show for, right? But the monarchists do. So it only makes sense.
Right, of course. But like but you said even like the other actually sane Republicans, they support Pahlavi like you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
This is why people say, like, one thing that the same Republicans love to say is that they say, I'm a Republican and I say Javid Shah. I'm not a monarchist and I say Javid Shah. They love to say that to show that the base of support for Princess of Pahlavi is beyond the monarchists. So the non-monarchists who support him, this is why it's also good that I'm not a monarchist, because people like me who are not monarchists and support Prince Reza Pahlavi, it's good that we exist to demonstrate that the support for Prince Reza Pahlavi beyond monarchists.
Yeah, of course, that does make sense.
So, by the way, BT is making a good point in the chat for people who might be American here. In the context of Iranian politics, when we say Republican, we're not talking about the Republican Party in the United States. Don't be so American centric with your politics, right? In the Iranian sense, Republican is actually more left leaning than in America. When you say Republican, you think right leaning. In Iran, when you say Republican, you actually think a bit more left leaning. So the monarchists are more right leaning, Republicans on average, not always, more left leaning, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not
Cool.
left, yeah. And
Yeah.
Republican just means in Iran, Republicans it just means somebody who wants a republic without a monarch. That's what it
Right,
means.
and of course, in the Iranian context, most Republicans are, are either leftist or Islamic lunatics, unfortunately. So
yeah, or commies, yeah. So as they're communists,
right.
too, yeah.
That makes sense. Like I get what you're saying. Like you guys like you support Pahlavi because he's really your only shot at these other lunatics. It's just I just thought that was kind of funny. I thought of course Goldie's a straight up monarchist from yeah.
She tries to brag about that she's better than me because she's like, I can say this is our Shah, but Armin can't because he's not a monarchist. I'm like, I can't say that as well. But like, not for Armin. For me, this is our Shah, but for Armin, maybe not. He's just a prince. I'm just kidding. But yes. Because
I would too. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Just from an outsider, an American.
Yeah, because like from on paper, I could argue why I prefer a republic over a constitutional monarchy. Like we could have a political philosophical discussion about it, but we're not living on paper. We're living in the real world. So you have to actually see, given our conditions and the environment that we live in, what makes the most strategic sense, and our philosophical ideas regarding what is the most ideal form of government is irrelevant compared to what works on the ground given our situation, right? And also at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who wants what, because we're going to have a referendum anyways. And what I can say that most sane Iranians, if the constitutional, like most Iranians who are constitutional monarchists have accepted that if the result of the referendum is a republic, they're going to go with the republic. And most Republicans have also accepted that if the result of the referendum is a constitutional monarchy, we're going to go with the constitutional monarchy. So most Iranians have accepted that they will just accept the result of the referendum after we're free, and we're not going to fight about it. I'm just going to allow the referendum to decide.
Your common ground is Pahlavi. He's the guy you're around behind.
And he is responsible for bringing us together, because we were fighting each other, like the monarch, and now we're saying because he just wants for us to have a referendum, we all have agreed to unite and referendum decide what we're going to have, a republic or a constitutional monarchy.
Exactly, because he's not coming at this from the point of being the crown prince. He's the leader of the revolution. He wants to lead a transition into a referendum, and then the Iranian people will decide whether they want him to be the king. Exactly. Yeah, makes sense. Makes total sense. Yeah, I just wanted to hear you elaborate on that. I thought that was kind of interesting. Thanks.
No, that's good. I'm glad you asked. Yeah. By the way, I saw Amy was a bit in the chat, but she was a bit confused because, and I appreciate you guys are here and like listening and learning all of this. You guys are amazing, by the way. Everybody who's here and paying attention to this, I just want to let you guys know that the fact that you're spending time and trying to understand the nuances of politics in Iran, we didn't have this for the past 47 years. We didn't have this many people paying attention to what's happening in Iran. So I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate every single one of you, and the fact that you're here to learn about it. This is really heartwarming. So thank you.
Okay, next is my favorite uncle. Also, Armin, if there's any decent people here, it's because you attracted us to you.
Oh, BT, you always say thank you, BT. I don't know how to receive. You're so sweet, and I don't know how, but the best response to what you're saying is, but thank you.
Yeah, so I am putting the timer on to be sure that I'm not there, because I have a tendency of going into a tangent.
Oh, thank you.
also, Armin, thank you so much for providing us the platform here, because we are all benefiting from each other as well, and I don't think I can overstate the importance of that you're simply enabling it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to kind of convey a little bit of what I consider to be a bit wholesome coping from the far cold north where I'm living. So there's been, for the last few weeks, of course, demonstrations in Oslo by the Iranian diaspora. And I think there was one conservative outlet that mentioned around 4,000, which is quite sizable for a small country like us. But today I came across, incidentally, a live stream while it was streaming, the Kurds that were marching as well. And I thought first it was Iranians. There was an Iranian march that I incidentally came across while it was live streaming, because they were saying, and they were using Magbad, like many of the Iranian words, right? So I didn't recognize the flags at first, but after I realized that it was the Kurds, I had to edit that post. And the reason I mentioned that was not only because it was interesting to note how similar because I noticed some of the slogans like Asadi and stuff like that have been in Sandegi, have been used by the Kurds, but it was surprising to see like it was put out into it was so similar. And I thought it was a pretty good thing, because I'm the kind of dude who generally thinks that anyone waving a foreign flag on Norwegian soil should be promptly shot on the spot. But since we have already permitted like the pro-Palestine folks, I think the really good counterweight to that is exactly the Kurds and the Iranians, because they show then that it's not just Muslims. Muslims aren't necessarily just like, the poor colonized victims or anything. They are actually the oppressive colonizers, the occupying force in the region, be it from Syria to Iran. And yeah, I think that's going to be good for breaking a little bit of the mirage that had been sent over in our direction. Because like I mentioned, the conservative outlet that reports on the Iranian diaspora, they're a small one by comparison to the biggest media outlets. They really don't try to cover this that much. So yeah,
wait,
I'm going to stop my
did
timer.
did they have any lion and sun flag?
No, they had the Kurdish flag with the sun, but like since it was just at the first glance, I kind of
fuck every single one of those people. Okay, and also let me just teach you something. Anybody who's now chanting Zanzindagi Azadi is not with us. Anybody who's chanting Zanzindagi Azadi is not with us. Okay, we have the Zanzindagi Azadi. This is not about Zanzindagi Azadi, and this is not our chant anymore. And anybody who's waving the Kurdish flag around, these are not just average Kurdish people. These are separatists, right? So we don't respect that flag. In fact, anybody waving that flag, we see that as our enemy, as much of an enemy as Islamic Republic is. And the chant Zanzindagi Azadi, like, I mean, guys, who's the leader of our revolution? Princess of Pahlavi. What did he have in his bio? Zanzindagi Azadi Mad Mihan Abadi. He changed it. Why did he change it? He removed that. Okay, he changed it to Iran Pas Migiri. He changed it because the Iranian people are not using that chant anymore, because that chant has been taken by commies and leftists to change this revolution into something that is not. A feminist leftist revolution that is not the same. Here's how you know that that's not our chant anymore. The Islamic Republic is using that chant. Why would the Islamic Republic now come out and say Zanzindagi Azadi? The Islamic Republic comes into a revolution, produces its own leaders, and tries to hijack our revolution and give us its own leaders and create a fake opposition, and then arrest those leaders to try to give them credibility. But the Iranian people are smarter than too smart for the Islamic Republic to be able to trick like that. So here's the thing: if you're saying somebody outside of Iran chanting something that nobody inside Iran is chanting right now, like from the videos that are coming out of Iran, have you seen Zanzindagi Azadi?
No.
No. I just didn't know. The answer is no. Okay, so why are some people saying Zanzindagi Azadi? Zanzindagi Azadi is now a chant against Javid Shah. That crowd that you saw, if you went in the middle of them, go into the middle of them and say Javid Shah, see what happens. They might beat you up. In that crowd that you just saw, go in the middle of them and just say any of the chants that the Iranian people are, are dying for in the streets of Iran, any of those, if you actually say that in the middle of those people. So what are the main three chants? Javid Shah, right? And actually, just to focus on these two, Javid Shah and in آخرین نبرد پهلوی برمیگرده. those people would want to kill you if you said that chant in front of them. So
Okay.
if there's a crowd that Iranian people who are dying freeing the country, if Iranian people if they hate them and vice versa, that's not the right crowd to support.